the Galactic High Council chamber drifted in silence near a dying blue star. The structure was older than most civilizations. Its walls were carved from dark crystal and living metal, shaped by technologies long forgotten. Ancient symbols covered the chamber, each one marking a war won, a species erased, or an empire broken. The star outside flickered weakly, its light passing through the wide glass dome and casting slow shadows across the room. Hundreds of alien leaders were gathered. They sat on floating platforms, towering thrones, and organic structures grown for their bodies. Some were massive and armored, others were thin and glowing. A few did not even have solid forms. These beings ruled most of the galaxy. They had lived through thousands of wars. They had seen entire star systems burn. They were confident. At the center of the chamber, a massive hologram activated. It stretched from floor to ceiling, bright and sharp. One word appeared: humanity. For a moment, there was silence. Then the laughter began. It spread across the chamber in many forms: sharp clicks, deep roars, hissing sounds, cold mechanical pulses. Some laughed openly. Others shared mocking signals across private channels. A tall, insect-like counselor spoke first. "Humans are divided," it said calmly. "They fight each other more than any enemy." Another leader followed, a being of stone and fire. "They are emotional," it said, "unstable. They act before thinking." A third voice joined in, smooth and confident. "Militarily weak," the voice said. "Their fleets are outdated. Their weapons are inefficient." More voices added to the list. "Too young to matter. Too slow to adapt. Too loud. Too fragile." The hologram shifted, showing images of Earth. Green oceans, white clouds, small fleets orbiting the planet, trade ships moving in predictable paths. The Galactic Council saw nothing impressive. An elder counselor rose from a throne made of black metal. This being had ruled since before humanity learned how to leave its planet. "The issue is not what humans are now," the elder said. "The issue is what they may become." The chamber grew quiet. "Human expansion is accelerating," the elder continued. "Their technology adapts quickly. Their population spreads fast. If left alone, they may challenge galactic order." No one disagreed. The decision was made quickly. No debates, no votes. The Galactic Council officially declared war on humanity. Not because humans attacked, not because humans threatened, but because one day they might. The declaration was recorded, sealed, and broadcast across the galaxy. It echoed through trade networks, military channels, and diplomatic archives. It was sent to every major power. And finally, it was transmitted to Earth. The Council waited. They expected panic. They expected angry messages filled with threats. They expected pleas for mercy. Some expected humans to beg. Others expected them to surrender. They watched Earth closely. Minutes passed. Then hours. Then an entire day. Earth did nothing. Human cities remained calm. Lights stayed on. Traffic moved as normal. News channels showed no emergency alerts. There were no mass evacuations, no speeches from leaders, no visible fear. Human fleets did not move. Defense grids did not activate. Orbital weapons stayed silent. The Galactic Council grew confused. Scanners showed activity across Earth, but it was ordinary. Civilian ships followed routine paths. Space stations continued trade. Research vessels sent data, not distress signals. A junior officer stood quietly at the edge of the chamber. He was young compared to the others, recently assigned to the Council's observation division. He had been watching Earth more closely than most. He hesitated. Then he spoke. "Why are the humans not afraid?" The chamber fell silent again. The question echoed louder than any weapon. A few counselors dismissed it. "They are in denial. They do not understand the threat. They believe we are bluffing." But some leaders felt something else. Unease. The junior officer stepped forward, projecting his data onto the hologram. It showed historical records, wars, species destroyed, patterns. "Humans respond differently," he said carefully. "When threatened, they do not always react immediately." A historian counselor turned toward him. "Explain." The officer swallowed. "In past conflicts," he said, "humans often went quiet before major action. They delayed responses. They avoided communication. And then," he stopped. "And then what?" the elder asked. "And then their enemies disappeared," the officer finished. The chamber darkened slightly as the dying star outside flickered. The elder counselor stared at the hologram of Earth. "Silence does not win wars," the elder said slowly. "No," the officer replied, "but preparation does." The council dismissed the concern. Laughter returned, softer this time but forced. "Humans are weak," one leader said. "Silence will not save them." Yet something had changed. The galaxy had declared war, and humanity had answered with nothing. No fear, no anger, no words. Far away, on Earth, hidden systems began to wake. Old networks unlocked, classified programs activated. Human leaders met in quiet rooms, not to argue but to listen. Humanity did not rush. Humanity did not shout. Humanity did not shout. Humanity waited. Because humans were not silent because they were weak. They were silent because they were deciding. The silence from Earth continued. One full rotation of the dying blue star passed, then another. Inside the Galactic High Council chamber, confidence began to crack. At first, the Council ignored the delay. Many believed humans were confused. Others believed their leaders were arguing among themselves. That was normal for humans. They were divided, emotional, and slow to agree. But as time passed, unease crept into the chamber. Scouting fleets were ordered closer to human space. Small, fast observation ships moved quietly between stars. They did not attack. They only watched. Their sensors focused on Earth, Luna, Mars, and the outer colonies. What they saw did not make sense. Human space was calm. Trade ships moved as usual. Cargo vessels followed their routes. Civilian traffic did not change. Mining operations continued on distant moons. Even communication traffic stayed steady. There were no emergency signals, no evacuation orders, no signs of panic. Alien analysts gathered around glowing screens, reviewing data again and again. "This behavior is illogical," one analyst said. "Any other species would already be preparing defenses." Another shook its head slowly. "Or begging," it replied. The council summoned military commanders from several empires. Massive beings and machine minds joined the meeting, their presence filling the chamber with heavy pressure. "Explain the human response," the elder counselor demanded. A commander stepped forward, projecting a large data stream. "Humans are not mobilizing," the commander said, "but they are not surrendering either." The hologram changed, showing deep space scans. "There is movement," the commander continued, "but not military movement. Not yet." "What kind of movement?" the elder asked. "Internal," the commander said. "Data traffic, energy redistribution, activation of old infrastructure." The room grew quiet. A historian counselor floated closer to the display. This being had studied extinct civilizations for thousands of years. "I have seen this pattern before," the historian said slowly. Several leaders turned toward it. "Explain," the elder commanded. "Species that panic act fast," the historian said. "Species that fear beg. Species that know they are weak prepare defenses." "And humans?" another counselor asked. The historian paused. "Humans prepare outcomes," it said. The words settled heavily. Records appeared on the hologram. Ancient wars, forgotten empires, long-dead species. In several historical cases, the historian continued, humans delayed responses to threats. They avoided open communication. They showed calm behavior. And a commander demanded, and afterward, the historian said, their enemies ceased to exist as threats. A murmur spread through the chamber. One leader laughed, though the sound lacked confidence. "Coincidence," it said. "Humans have never fought a galactic power." "That is correct," the historian replied. "Galactic powers have only fought each other." The council dismissed the concern. They decided silence was weakness. To prove dominance, the council approved a small action. Not a full invasion. Not yet. A warning. A limited strike. A nearby human border colony was selected. It was small, lightly defended, and far from Earth. The colony had no major military value. It existed to harvest minerals and support civilian families. Perfect for sending a message. The order was given. A single alien fleet jumped into the system without warning. The colony's sensors barely had time to react. Energy weapons burned through orbital stations. Defense platforms failed within seconds. Cities on the surface were struck from space. Communication towers collapsed. Power grids died. The attack was fast, efficient, merciless. Within minutes, the colony went silent. Millions of humans were gone. The alien fleet did not stay. It withdrew immediately, leaving destruction behind. The message was clear. The Galactic Council waited again. This time, they were sure. Now humans would respond. Anger, fear, rage, anything. Hours passed. Then a single message arrived. It was short. It contained no images, no threats, no emotion. Only one line: "We acknowledge your action." The council stared at the message. "That is all?" one leader asked. "No demands?" Another said. "No surrender?" A third added. The junior officer stood quietly at the edge of the chamber again. He felt a deep unease he could not explain. "This response is wrong," he said carefully. The elder counselor turned toward him. "Explain yourself." "Humans lost millions," the officer said, "and they respond like this?" "Perhaps they are afraid to show weakness," one leader said. The officer shook his head. "No," he said. "This message is not fear. It is confirmation." "Confirmation of what?" the elder demanded. The officer hesitated. "Confirmation that a line was crossed. Deep within human space, things began to change. Military channels activated across Earth. Fleets that had been hidden for decades quietly received new orders. Old shipyards, believed to be abandoned, came online. Deep space facilities unlocked sealed doors. Human leaders spoke very little. There were no speeches, no public threats, only preparation. Across the galaxy, sensors began to notice strange signals. Not weapons, not engines, something else. Wide-scale coordination. Precision movement. The Galactic Council dismissed the reports. But the laughter did not return. Somewhere in the vastness of space, humanity was no longer deciding. Humanity had decided, and the galaxy had no idea what was coming. The Galactic Council tried to regain control. Publicly, they spoke with confidence. They announced that the warning strike was successful. They claimed humans were contained. They told allied empires that the situation was stable. Privately, panic spread. Strange reports arrived from every direction. Not battle reports, not attacks. Something worse, human space was changing. Long-range sensors detected energy flows moving in patterns no known species used. Entire star systems showed brief power surges, then returned to normal. Communication relays picked up encrypted signals so complex that even machine minds could not decode them. The council summoned their best analysts. A massive room beneath the chamber filled with screens and data streams. Organic minds, artificial intelligences, and hybrid thinkers worked together. They searched for weapons. They found none. No large fleets moving toward borders, no mass weapon charging, no invasion signals. Instead, they found connections. Human systems that were once separate were now linked. Civilian networks connected to military channels, research stations synced with deep space facilities. Old satellites, believed to be useless, suddenly activated. One analyst spoke carefully. "Humans are not preparing for war," it said. "They are preparing for control." "Control of what?" a commander asked. The analyst paused. "Control of everything," it replied. The junior officer was present again. He had stopped sleeping. His eyes stayed fixed on one screen that showed historical data. "Bring up classified human archives," he requested. A superior officer hesitated. "Those files are incomplete." "Bring them anyway," the junior officer insisted. Old records appeared. Many were damaged. Others were intentionally erased. But patterns remained. Human military doctrine was different. They did not focus on overwhelming force. They focused on removal of choice. A historian joined them, its voice low. "Humans do not fight to win territory," it said. "They fight to remove threats permanently." The council dismissed the warning and approved another move. This time, not a strike, a demonstration. A large fleet was ordered to gather near human space. Thousands of ships from multiple empires formed a massive formation. It was meant to show power, to remind humans who ruled the galaxy. As the fleet arrived, something unexpected happened. Their systems began to fail, not violently, not suddenly, slowly. Navigation systems lost precision. Targeting sensors gave delayed data. Communication signals experienced tiny delays, milliseconds at first, then seconds. Engine performance dropped by small percentages. Nothing catastrophic, but nothing normal. Fleet commanders reported the issue. Technicians could not find the cause. Then one ship went dark. No explosion, no distress call, just silence. Then another. Then another. The fleet commander ordered a full diagnostic reset. It did nothing. The junior officer's screen updated. He whispered, "They are not attacking the ships." A commander turned sharply. "Then what are they doing?" The officer swallowed. "They are attacking the systems that allow ships to exist." Across the galaxy, similar reports arrived. Alien fleets experienced unexplained shutdowns near human observation zones. Automated defenses failed without damage. Weapon systems refused to arm. AI commanders froze, trapped in endless loops. Human fleets still did not appear. No weapons fired. No threats sent. The council demanded answers. A human signal finally arrived. Not a message, a data package. It was unlocked, unencrypted, deliberately clear. Inside were schematics, not of ships, not of weapons, of networks. The human representative spoke for the first time since the war declaration. His image appeared on the council's screen. He stood calmly, hands behind his back. "You asked why we did not respond," he said evenly. "No anger, no pride, only clarity. We were deciding how to end this without destroying you." The chamber erupted. "You attacked us," one leader shouted. "You destroyed our colony," another screamed. The human nodded once. "Yes," he said. "And that confirmed our concern." "What concern?" the elder demanded. "That you do not understand restraint," the human replied. He continued, "For centuries, we limited ourselves. We built systems to observe, not dominate, to prepare, not threaten." The hologram shifted. It showed a vast structure hidden between stars. Not a ship, not a station, a framework. "This," the human said, "is what we never showed." The council watched in horror. The structure was not a weapon in the traditional sense. It did not fire. It did not explode. It rewrote rules. It controlled communication paths, energy flow, and navigation constants. It could isolate fleets, disable economies, collapse empires without a single shot. "You built this in secret?" the elder asked. "No," the human said. "We built it quietly." The image vanished. "You declared war because you feared what we might become," the human said. "Now you see what we already are." The transmission ended. Across the galaxy, alien leaders felt something they had not felt in thousands of years. Fear, not of destruction, but of irrelevance. Human fleets finally moved, not rushing, not attacking, just appearing precisely where needed. The galaxy had pushed humanity to choose, and humanity had chosen finality. The galaxy changed overnight, not with explosions, not with screams, but with silence. Entire sectors lost communication at the same time. Trade routes went dark. Military command channels returned empty echoes. Navigation beacons stopped responding, leaving fleets drifting in deep space, unable to calculate safe jumps. The Galactic Council chamber filled with urgent voices. Reports arrived faster than they could be processed. Fleet 12 cannot receive orders. Border defenses are offline. Economic systems are frozen. One leader slammed a clawed limb against its throne. "This is impossible," it shouted. "Humans have not fired a single weapon." The junior officer stood frozen, staring at incoming data. "They do not need to," he said quietly. Across the galaxy, panic spread. Empires that once mocked humanity now begged the council for answers. Smaller species shut down their systems and prayed the silence would pass them by. Merchant guilds collapsed in days. Energy shortages began on dozens of worlds. And still human fleets did not attack. They simply appeared. One by one, human ships exited controlled space near critical systems. They were not massive armadas. They did not fill the sky. Each fleet was small, clean, and perfectly positioned. They did not fire. They waited. Alien commanders tried to respond. Weapons refused to charge. Engines would not reach full power. AI systems warned of external override influence and locked themselves for safety. A senior alien admiral whispered the unthinkable. "We are not being invaded," he said. "We are being contained." The Galactic Council ordered an emergency meeting. The elder counselor's voice shook for the first time in recorded history. "Contact humanity," he demanded. Immediately, the signal was sent. This time, the human response came instantly. The human representative appeared again. He looked unchanged, calm, controlled. "You are experiencing the consequences of escalation," he said. "You are destroying galactic stability." One counselor shouted. No, the human replied. We are preventing further loss of life. You attacked our systems. Another leader cried. We isolated them, the human corrected. There is a difference. The hologram shifted again. It showed dozens of fleets, alien fleets, floating powerless in space. No damage, no destruction, just silence. We could have erased you, the human said. We chose restraint. The elder counselor lowered his gaze. What do you want? He asked. The human paused. We want you to understand, he said, that war is not a game to us. He continued. You declared war lightly. You destroyed civilians to send a message. We responded by removing your ability to repeat that mistake. Across the galaxy, leaders realized the truth. Humanity was not angry. Humanity was disappointed. The council tried to surrender. Formal surrender protocols were activated. Flags were transmitted. Offers of tribute and apology followed. The human representative shook his head. We did not come for surrender, he said calmly. The chamber froze. Then why are you here? The elder asked. To reset the rules, the human replied. The hologram changed once more. A new galactic framework appeared. Clear, simple. No species could declare preemptive war. No civilian world could be targeted. No council could decide extinction out of fear. Enforcement authority was assigned to one name, humanity. You will govern us? A leader demanded in fear. No, the human said. We will watch you. A pause followed. If you follow these rules, the human continued, you will never see our fleets again. And if we do not? The elder asked. The human met his gaze. Then you already know what silence feels like. The transmission ended. Human fleets began to withdraw. As they left, systems slowly returned to life. Communications restored. Engines restarted. Economies breathed again. The galaxy survived. But it was changed forever. In hidden archives, historians recorded the event under a new category. Not a war, not a conquest, a correction. The junior officer stood alone in the council chamber after the meeting ended. The ancient walls felt smaller now. Less powerful, he whispered to himself. They were never weak. Far away, Earth remained calm. Human cities continued their lives. Children went to school. Ships traded peacefully. No victory celebrations were held. For humanity, this was not triumph. It was responsibility. The galaxy had learned its lesson, and humanity had made sure it would never forget. The galaxy tried to return to normal. Trade routes reopened. Communication lines stabilized. Fleets repaired their systems and slowly regained movement. Worlds that had gone dark lit up again, but nothing felt the same. Every leader knew the truth now. Humanity had not used its full power. That realization was far more terrifying than any weapon. Across multiple star systems, alien governments began quietly rewriting their military doctrines. Preemptive war clauses were removed. Civilian protection laws were strengthened. Emergency councils replaced expansion plans. All of it happened without a single human command. Fear was enough. The Galactic Council reconvened, smaller and weaker than before. Some seats were empty. Empires that had collapsed under economic pressure during the silence were gone forever. The elder counselor stood again, but his voice no longer carried authority. We must understand them, he said. If we are to survive, a cultural delegation was proposed. Not a military envoy, not a political threat. Observers. The request was sent to Earth. Humanity accepted. A single human ship arrived at the neutral meeting zone. No weapons were visible. No escorts followed. The ship's design was simple and efficient. The same human representative stepped forward. He did not demand submission. He did not demand praise. He answered questions. One counselor asked, "Why did you hide your strength?" The human replied, "Because strength invites fear. Fear creates war." Another asked, "Why did you not rule us when you could?" "Because ruling requires control," the human said. "We prefer choice." A third asked the most important question. "What are you?" The human paused longer this time. "We are a species that learned something early," he said. "Power does not make you safe. Responsibility does." Records from Earth were shared. Human history was full of war, full of mistakes, full of destruction. Humanity had nearly erased itself many times. But each time it learned. Each time it stepped back. It built systems not to dominate others, but to stop itself. That was the truth that shook the galaxy. Humanity's greatest weapons were not built to kill enemies. They were built to prevent humans from becoming monsters. The junior officer watched from the edge of the chamber again, older now in spirit. So when we declared war, he began. You forced us to remove our limits, the human finished gently. Silence filled the chamber. The Galactic Council voted unanimously. The old system was dissolved. A new galactic charter was written, not by humans, but under their watch. Humanity did not place its flag over the galaxy. It placed a mirror. Every species was forced to see what it could become. The new law was simple. Power without restraint is extinction waiting to happen. The galaxy accepted it. Years passed. Human fleets returned to deep space monitoring. The great frameworks remained, silent but active. Humanity watched without interfering. No species dared test the silence again. In galactic academies, new lessons were taught. Children of many worlds learned about the day war was declared on humanity, and how humanity answered with calm. Historians recorded the final truth in neutral words, though none could forget the fear behind them. The galaxy believed humans were weak because they were quiet. They were wrong. On Earth, life continued. Human leaders rarely spoke of the war. To them, it was not victory, it was prevention. The human representative stood once more before the stars, recording a final message for galactic archives. Do not fear us, he said. Fear the moment you believe violence is your first answer. The transmission ended. The galaxy listened, and for the first time in its long history, it chose peace, not because it was forced, but because it understood the cost of waking humanity again. The galaxy did not forget. It tried to move forward. It rebuilt fleets, restored governments, and reopened old alliances. But something invisible had changed. A quiet rule now guided every decision. Humanity was watching. Not with fleets, not with threats, but with presence. In the years after the war declaration, no empire expanded by force. No council discussed preemptive strikes. Even the most aggressive species learned to pause before acting, because they remembered the silence. The Galactic Council chamber still existed, but it was no longer a place of pride. Its ancient walls felt heavy now, filled with memories of arrogance and regret. A final assembly was called, not to plan war, but to record history. The elder counselor, older and weaker than before, addressed the chamber one last time. We must mark this day, he said, so it is never repeated. A massive archive crystal activated. It would store the truth forever. The title appeared, The Human Respontis. The junior officer stood among the delegates. He was no longer junior. Experience had aged him quickly. He remembered the laughter. He remembered the confidence. And he remembered the fear that followed. A human representative was present, not as a ruler, but as a witness. One counselor asked him quietly, "Why did you laugh?" The human looked at the hologram of Earth, slowly rotating before them. "We did not laugh at your power," he said. "We laughed at the mistake." "What mistake? What mistake?" the counselor asked. "Believing war is decided by who speaks first," the human replied. The chamber listened. "You announced war loudly," the human continued. "You expected noise in return, panic, rage, begging. But humans went quiet," the officer said. "Yes," the human replied, "because silence is where responsibility lives." He explained. When the message reached Earth, human leaders did not argue, they did not threaten, they reviewed history, their own failures, their own near extinctions. They asked only one question: if we act, what kind of future follows? That was why they waited. That was why they chose control instead of destruction. The elder counselor lowered his head. "You could have ended us," he said. "Yes," the human replied, "and that is exactly why we didn't." The archive crystal recorded every word. Across the galaxy, the story spread not as propaganda, but as warning. New generations grew up hearing it. They learned that humans were not dangerous because they were strong. Humans were dangerous because they were patient, because they thought long-term, because once they acted completely. On Earth, there were no monuments for the war, no statues, no celebrations. The event was taught quietly in schools as a lesson not of victory, but of restraint. Human children learned that power should scare you, not excite you. Years passed. The galaxy stabilized. Species that once hated each other traded peacefully. Borders remained fixed. Wars became rare. And when conflict rose, there was always the same question: What would humans think of this? That question alone stopped countless wars. In the deepest layers of space, the great human frameworks remained active, silent, watching. They never moved again. Because they did not need to, the junior officer, now a historian, finished his final report decades later. He wrote, "The galaxy declared war because it feared humanity's future. Humanity answered by showing the galaxy its own future instead." The report was sealed. The final line in the archive was added by the human representative himself. It read, "Never confuse silence with weakness. Humans are quiet when they are deciding, and when they decide, the universe listens." The archive closed. The stars continued to burn, and the galaxy, for the first time in its long and violent history, chose to remain quiet, not out of fear of destruction, but out of respect for the species that laughed at war, and proved it never needed to shout to win.